This is Kathy Brooks of LUTG Radio's WKKP Digital Broadcasting. And what we're doing is we're rerunning the full press conference for the McDonald case. And you'll hear Mayor Rahm Emanuel speak, as well as the Chief of Police, Chief McCarthy, speak on the case itself. And they'll be answering questions. So it's about 30 minutes. And we'll let it run. All right. And it should start right about now.
Okay, good evening, everybody. You would think, from the size of the number of people up here at the podium, that we were here tonight to discuss good news, because unfortunately that's the way it usually goes. And in this case, we're here to talk about some bad news, but also some opportunity. As you all know, last year on October 20th, one of our police officers shot and killed a young man named McDonald. The investigation into the circumstances of that event has been ongoing. The officer was stripped of his police powers immediately. As you all know, today he was charged with first-degree murder by the state's attorney, Anita Alvarez. And as a result, he's been put into what's known as a no-pay status. So he's no longer being paid by the Chicago Police Department. That is part of our contractual obligation with the Fraternal Order of Police here in Chicago, and that's the process that we've undergone. Every day in this city, you see thousands of officers performing admirably and making a difference every single day in the lives of individuals here in Chicago. The officer in this case took a young man's life, and he's going to have to account for his actions. And that's what today is all about. Today is about accountability. We're all accountable for our actions. Since I've come to this police department, you've heard me talk about accountability over and over and over again. And we all hold ourselves accountable. In this case, we have a tragic ending to, unfortunately, a tragic life of a young man who was betrayed on a number of different levels. And typically these cases end up in the police department's hands, and in this case it ended up in his death. We are not the least bit pleased about this, and at the end of the day, you got to respect the men and women who are out there doing this job every single day without incident, and when there are incidents, they're usually positive. As you know, last week we were ordered to turn over the dash cam video of the events surrounding this particular endeavor, and we're prepared to do that. What I expect is the same thing that we talk about frequently, which is the fact that people have a right to be angry, people have a right to protest, people have a right to free speech, but they do not have a right to commit criminal acts. And at the end of the day, the Chicago Police Department is trained for, and we're one of the world leaders in mass demonstrations. We're prepared to facilitate people's First Amendment right to free speech, but we will be intolerant of criminal behavior here in the city of Chicago. And quite frankly, as I talked this morning about the capabilities of our men and women in this department, I stand here again tonight to reiterate that our officers will be professional in their conduct, and we expect that we're going to have community support to facilitate whatever protests come our way. And I'm really confident in the community as far as being behind us. Unfortunately, we have some work to do to obtain the trust, as many police departments in this country are struggling in the same vein. So we're here tonight to release that video, and obviously we're going to talk a little bit, and then we'll take your questions. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
Thank you, Superintendent. First and foremost, I also want to thank both the religious leaders, community leaders, as well as the other elected officials that are here today for the city of Chicago. Like all public servants that are here, and including officers, we hold our police officers to a high standard. And obviously, in this case, Jason Van Dyke violated both the standards of professionalism that comes with being a police officer, but also basic moral standards that bind our community together. Jason Van Dyke will be judged in the court of law. that's exactly how it should be. As of today, he's no longer being paid by the City of Chicago, as the superintendent just noted, and he was stripped of his police powers 10 months ago. Obviously, anyone that sees this video will also make their own judgments of Jason Van Dyke and his actions. The incident, the actions, and the video will be debated and discussed in the days ahead. Appropriate. But we as a City of Chicago, all of us, also have to make an important judgment about ourselves and our city as we go forward. Will we, in my view, rise to this moment that this incident demands of all of us in this city? And my view is this episode can be a moment of understanding and learning. Will we use it? And the question before all of us, will we use this episode in this moment to build bridges that bring us together as a city? Or we allow it to become a way that erects barriers that tear us apart as a city? We need, as a city, to get to a point where young men in our community and in parts of our city see an officer, and don't just see an officer with a uniform and a badge, but they see him as a partner in helping them reach their full potential. And they see in that officer a mentor, a Little League coach, a leader in the church and in their community, which they are. But we also have to get to a place as a city where officers who patrol communities in our city see a young man not as a potential problem and a risk, but they also see in that young man as an individual who is worthy of their protection and their potential. They see a student, they see an athlete, and they see an artist. The future of the city of Chicago lies within each of us. And I believe we as a city must rise to this moment, answer that call, not only to ourselves individually, but to our community and our city. This will no doubt be a challenge. But as somebody who believes that every challenge is an opportunity, I believe within the city, not just in the police department, not just in our places of worship, but throughout the city. People of good faith love their city, love their neighborhood and community and the residents that make it up, but know that this moment doesn't speak to who we are and what we can become. And all of us, in one way or another, are leaders. And our responsibility is to challenge us, and challenge not only ourselves, but the people we speak for and represent, to look within ourselves and reach for the future of the city of Chicago we know we can be. I believe this is a moment that can build bridges of understanding rather than become a barrier of misunderstanding. I understand that the people will be upset and will want to protest when they see this video. But I would like to echo the comments of the McDonald family. They have asked for calm, and for those who choose to speak out, to do it peacefully. They said they do not want the violence to be resorted in Laquan's name, but let his legacy be better than that. It is fine to be passionate, but it is essential that it remain peaceful. We have a collective responsibility in the city of Chicago, the city we love, to ensure that this opportunity for healing begins now. My heart goes out to the McDonald family on their loss. I want to thank all our community leaders here in the city of Chicago for their leadership and their partnership, and more importantly, for the responsibility they take every day. It is now the time to come together as one city, show respect for one another, to work every day in building a culture of trust and respect for one another. Most of all, now is the time to build a lasting partnership for peace. We have a great deal of work ahead of us as a city. All of us will be judged by our actions, and I call on all of us to look within inside ourselves, see this moment as a potential to do something that we have talked about and discussed, but for reasons have not actually endeavored to journey on. I want to work together as a city to be the city that we can be. There'll be moments of challenge. There'll be moments that question. But I actually believe in the character of the people that make up this city. And now we must work together to bring the peace and understanding and the bridges of understanding together. With that, obviously, we'll take some questions. Marco?
Your statement.
Slightly, Mark, if I could, I don't think, you didn't say it explicitly, let me say implicitly in the question. We have been doing that, and we have to rededicate ourselves because there's no doubt there's a gulf that exists, and we have to continue to work at that.
Mayor, the state's attorney today.
Want to speak to certain things, and I'll speak to it.
Well, so at the end of the day, we're obviously always planning for the worst case scenario and expecting the best. And in this case, we're in that same position. This is an incident that happened in October of 2014. I could spout statistics that are meaningless at this point about how much better we're doing at police shootings regarding policies and supervision and discipline. But at the end of the day, we knew this day was coming. And, honestly, it would have, in my book, been better if it happened after whatever happens with the prosecution. But, I'm not the attorney, so it is what it is. So we've been prepared for this day to come for quite some time. I'm incredibly confident in the professionalism of my department, and I'm incredibly confident in our community. And, I'll tell you, as I stood here and listened to the mayor, I couldn't help but be struck by my first comment, which is, anytime I stand at this podium with this many people, there's credit to go around. But that's not why we're here today. We're here united, together, and I just can't give enough credit to the individuals who are standing up here, these men and women who are willing to stand up here right now in this time of potential crisis in the city of Chicago. So I think we're in a totally different place than a lot of people are trying to put us into, quite frankly. We're prepared. We've been laying this groundwork for a long time in the things that we're doing in this department, and I think the community sees that, and I'm really pleased about that.
I don't know, I think I'm hearing what you said, the state's attorney said. Look, my point, what my statement today speaks to where I want to see us go as a city. And what I think there is a moment here, and moments like this are judgments, and that's what I mean. They're not just judgments. Jason Van Dyke's going to go to court. There'll be a judgment, and he'll be held accountable for his actions. There's also a judgment for all of us. This is not just, at one level, this is all about him individually. But we as a city must also do certain things. Now, as it relates to public safety, it is also, is it a role of police officers? Yes. Is it a role of the religious and community leaders? Yes. Is it a role for the mayor and all elected officials? Yes. All of us who are stakeholders who have positions that have responsibility to the public. So do I think that the police are going to do their job? I'm absolutely confident that that's going to happen. But my point is, as it relates to safety, there's this moment in time, but there's also after this. And I want us to think about that future and start building that future that I think we have today. Mike?
Yeah, it's absolutely not true. And I think the state's attorney addressed that today. There were apparently technical difficulties, but in no way, shape, or form is there any evidence that anything was tampered with, and I think she covered that. I think so, Mike, but I want you to realize something, that the Chicago Police Department is no longer investigating this incident because we have independent civilian oversight. So it went from Chicago PD to IPRA, from IPRA to the state's attorney, FBI, and the U.S. attorney. So I don't have the access to some of the details that you're asking me, quite frankly. I had a preliminary briefing when the incident first happened, as I have on every police-related shooting. And that's pretty much the limit of my knowledge of the investigation.
What needs...
That's a great question, Craig. And if somebody could tell me, I'll take it in. But the way that we've been handling it is through policy, supervision, and training. Right? Those seem to be the three biggies in policing where we have success. And through policy, change in policy as far as when we can shoot and when we can't shoot. Through training, we added a training cycle for all of our officers more than 4 years ago when I got here. And supervision and ensuring that those policies are being followed through on. We've been able to have significant success in reducing our shootings. It doesn't fix what happened here today. And at the end of the day, it's always going to be the judgment in the eyes of that officer, which is why I said that the officer in this case is going to have to account for his actions. I can't do it, and nobody else can. Only he can. So that's, at the end of the day, where we are.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
We're going to put it out. The staff will put it out. Okay.
have you seen the video yourself?
I'm gonna go see it when it becomes public, like everybody else.
Do you think that there's a problem? Open.
You want to go to
Misconduct, it should have to change.
So, that's a great question, Mark. What I can address is the changes that we've made to our investigatory process, particularly in the world of internal affairs. As you know, forced complaints go to an outside civilian oversight department. But here in the Chicago Police Department, we've expanded the size of our internal affairs division. We've given them geographical accountability, which is a word that you keep hearing over and over again. And I'm really proud. And we took the best investigator, one of the best, I shouldn't say the best because I'm not giving other people credit. One of the best investigators in the Chicago Police Department.
I understand.
Okay, but I can give you the details on it and he can follow up. The other thing is that with the release of the data regarding our complaints, Mark, we have work to do. There's no two ways about it. But some of those issues with the union contract are the things that people don't understand. We don't have at-will employees, and we can't just fire them the way that people expect.
The police department always says that if you have release information from the ongoing investigation in this case and you release the data.
Just let me speak to 2 to 3 things just in general, okay? There's always work to improve in the sense because trust is a two-way street. And people having a sense that nobody's being protected just because of their title or their position, and nobody's being prosecuted because they don't have a title or position. For a long time, and this was, in fact, the former Attorney General came in to actually look at what Chicago was doing because we have 2 civilian oversight boards. In fact, Lori Lightford is here, one of them on the police board. We have IPRA, Scott's also here, that are different than any other city. We also have the internal review that goes on here. Do we need to make it constantly ask hard questions? In fact, 2 years ago we started that process of asking some hard questions. Do we have all the safeguards in place to constantly be reviewing and demanding professionalism and doing it in a way that gives also the public confidence of what happens in the police department? Is it perfect? nothing's ever perfect. Do we have the spirit and the desire and constantly to find ways to improve it and make it transparent so people believe that people will be held accountable for their actions? That is what exists.
No, there was no audio with the tape that I saw, with the video that I saw, and I don't think that audio does exist.
So it's not.
There's supposed to be, and it's supposed to happen in a couple of different instances, and this is one of the things that we're working on. Sometimes we have technical difficulties. Sometimes officers need to be disciplined if they don't turn it on at the right circumstance, which is why we're working out all the details on our body cam project as we speak, and we'll be expanding that shortly. No. There was no audio, to my knowledge, with any of the video that was taken for this scene. No, it didn't exist.
You're going to get the video anyway.
Mr. Mayor, a question from Brandon. Wow. Mr. Mayor.
But you know what? I'll talk about a culture thing in the Chicago Police Department. Since I got here, I've been talking about changing the culture of the Chicago Police Department in a positive fashion. There are some very good things about the Chicago Police Department that I found when I got here. We're building on those, and we're trying to revamp anything that's negative. And quite frankly, you're almost forcing me to give you the data on our police shootings over the last 4 years that we've been here. They're down almost 70%. That's really significant. And we did it through policy, training, and supervision. So that's a work in progress. And we're going to continue to pursue excellence in the Chicago Police Department in all aspects, whether it's in internal investigations, whether it's in the way that we treat people on the street, or whether it's in reducing crime.
Let me just add one word to what the superintendent just said. It's especially true given today. Anybody who is there to uphold the law cannot act like they're above the law. And that is both a principle that is used to make sure it reflects the culture in the police department. And I want to say one thing. There are men and women, both in leadership positions and rank and file, who follow and live by that principle every day. Jason Van Dyke does not represent the police department, because I can give you chapter and verse of people who are doing things that are beyond what their quote-unquote only their job description is, who every day go out not just to protect but also to serve. And so when it comes to a culture, I actually believe, well, it's a work in progress and you're never at just a point. There are officers every day. I've seen it in Little League teams. I've seen it in mentoring programs. Officers don't just are not just officers when they're wearing the uniform. They are there to serve a community and are part of a community and act like that every day. Do we have to make changes? Absolutely. It's always working towards a culture that understands that you're accountable. It's an honor to serve the public, and because you serve the public, you're not above the law, but you actually are there, and you will be held accountable like everybody else, and accountable not just like everybody else, but to a higher standard. Yeah. Yeah, I just, like others who saw it described to them, they have a reaction, and I was reacting to what I saw as described, and that's why I said there's a moral judgment associated with this. I think that what the most important thing is they talked about is also the stakeholders. And I think that what I would say is, and I addressed that in the meeting, and I addressed a series of questions, Mr. Van Dyke does not speak to the police department. We have a leadership that is doing a hard job every day, and a lot of people throughout the department doing it very well. And the judgment will be about Mr. Van Dyke's action. But I appreciate what they have asked. They made their point, and I also expressed my view on that. Hold on, Bill. I want to give people all a chance. Okay, go ahead.
No, actually, we're not. We're going to be addressing, moving forward with the resources that we have until such time that we think that we don't have that capability. So we are not predicting doom and gloom. We are predicting protests, which is something that we do 2 or 3 times a day in the city of Chicago, quite frankly. So until such time as we need to ramp up some resources, we're not doing it.
Action against Officer Van Dyke.
The video show footage of the drive up to the scene.
We're just waiting for them to continue here. Do apologize about the audio. Looks like someone may be asking a question, but they're not on mic. Okay, so we're still waiting for them to...
Hey guys, just some instructions. So I'm sorry about the chaotic nature here. So you're going to get 3 documents. One will be a press release. One will be a fact sheet of the incident, and then the third will be the downloadable instructions for how to get the video, which everybody wants. We're going to email these to every desk, and everybody that signed up and wanted information, we have that list. We're going to email it out. I also have some hard copies here that we can hand out if people want them. I have 50. It looks like there's a little more than that in this room. And then, of course, you can call News Affairs. We'll make sure we get it to everybody. But it's going to be a downloadable file. You cannot do it from a phone. It's a very big file size, so only the desk will be able to do it. Yeah, we'll hand them out as we go. So here's press release, hand them out, go. Fact sheet, hold on. These are, Jesus, guys. Hold on. Guys, we're going to email it to you. Don't worry.
Where's the one on the how you guys do how to do the download 2 phases? Which one is the downloadable?
The downloadable is Sargent City. Where's Sargent City? Fact sheet.
What do you mean by sanctions?
Don't worry about you. We got you. These are out-of-state media. Here's fact sheets.
Okay, just a correction. The superintendent is Gary F. McCarthy, not Chief. I called him Chief, but it's Superintendent Gary F. McCarthy. This is Kathy Brooks for LUTG Radio's WKKP Digital Broadcasting.